Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. Thanks for joining me today. I want to share with you 2 farmhouse DIYs, but before I do that, I'd like to introduce you to Lianep from DIY Beauty on Purpose. If you are not subscribed to Lianep's channel, you need to go over there and check her videos out. She does some amazing furniture makeovers, thrift store flips, dollar store DIYs, and I just love everything that she does. My first project for you is this calendar holder. These were really popular in the 80s and the 90s. You hung them on your wall, and every year you purchased a new calendar to fit right inside the slot. This was only $2 at the thrift store. It's been in my stash for a while waiting for a makeover, and I figured now is the time to do something with it. Unfortunately, it has this wooden pineapple stuck to it, and it was really stuck. I tried all sorts of things to get it off. First, my paint scraper couldn't make a dent in that. Then I tried my craft knife to try and cut some of the glue or wood away that was underneath. And eventually I just ended up using my hacksaw and cut it off. But it did end up leaving quite a bit of a hole because it just kind of popped off and took some of the original wood with it. But no worries, I'm just grabbing my spackle and filling up that hole to make it nice and smooth. What I'm doing here is filling in the gap between the backing and the wood on the top side of the calendar. There needed to be a space where you could slip your calendar in, but when you just look at it from the front, you can see that gap. So I'm using some of these little wood shims that I picked up at the Home Depot in a pack of 40. I like to use these. They're really easy just to score with a utility knife, and then they'll just snap in half. If you're at all familiar with shims, they are thicker on one end and thinner on the other end, so I did need to cut another smaller piece and fit it into the back. I ended up using some hot glue to hold them down, and then I used some little tack nails to hold them in place permanently. Once I had that completed, I just sanded some of the spackle down just to get the edges and everything nice and smooth. And then I'm going to give it 2 coats of Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I'm using a Bennett round chalk paint brush, and when I'm doing projects like this where I don't want brush strokes, I use my chalk paint brushes, and I really love them because the paint goes on so nice and smooth and you really get good coverage. I'm going to put a stencil on the bottom half of the calendar, and I've decided to use this Home Sweet Home stencil from Jillibean Stencils, available at Joann Fabrics. I will put a link in my description box for the pack. I believe there was about 20 of them all together. They are a thick paper stencil. These can't be cleaned too much. The paint dries fairly quickly on them, but I think in the long run it's going to be an advantage because some of the little pieces of the stencil tend to pop up, and if there's some paint on them, they'll probably be a little bit more durable. I'm using Rust-Oleum charcoal chalk paint and a makeup sponge to apply the paint onto the sign. There's a couple of things to remember when you're working with stencils. The first is you don't want to load too much paint onto your sponge or brush. So as you can see, I'm dipping my paint into the lid and then I'm dabbing some of the paint off into this little plate. The second thing you want to do is use a dabbing motion and vertical. So an up and down motion, not a side to side. You're not painting it on, you're dabbing it on. I haven't done a reveal for you guys in a really long time, so here we go. This is time for the reveal. The stencil turned out perfectly. I'm so happy with it, and I don't have any bleeding at all. The top half of the sign is going to have a removable wreath. And what I mean by that is you're going to be able to take the wreath off and change it for the seasons. I'm starting off by trimming some of this green hydrangea flower, and I'm just going to be using some of the lighter green blossoms. I'm going to use hot glue to make sure that they stay on properly. These stems are really flimsy, so I'm going to just kind of twist it into this grapevine wreath form that I'm starting out with, and then use some hot glue to hold the flowers in place. The second part of the wreath is to use some lavender blossoms. I'm just trimming these down just a little bit because they were just a bit too long. And then I'll use some hot glue as well. And I'm going to be putting these in a circle all the way around, and all of the blooms will be going in the same direction. I'm also going to try to keep them evenly spaced, and then I'll see how it looks when it's complete and if it needs a little bit more embellishment. I'm really loving how this wreath is coming together, but the single lavender blossoms were a little sparse. So I've decided to just double up on those. And so I'll do the same thing with another row all the way around, again, following the same direction. To add a little bit more texture and color, I'm going to take the ends of these lavender blossoms that I trimmed off and add those into the wreath. Again, still going in the same direction as the original lavender blooms, but I'll probably put them here and there just to kind of use them as a filler. It's a farmhouse sign, I've got to do some distressing. I'm taking some 220 grit sandpaper and just going over the edges and wherever I feel there would have been some natural wear to bring out some of the wood. These are my favorite command hooks to use. They're really small and inconspicuous, but the hook part is really nice and large, so a wreath can hang on it really nicely. I just need to find where it's going to look best, and then I'll be able to attach the command hook to the top portion of the calendar frame, and that will give the person who's going to own this eventually to be able to switch out wreaths for the seasons. If you're not familiar with how command hooks work, they're actually very easy. Each of them comes with a double-sided piece of tape, and it's not really tape, but that's what I call it. There's a black side, which is the part for the wall, and then there's a red side, which is the part that goes on the hook. So I'm going to peel off the red side, place it onto the hook, then I'll peel off the black side and place it on the mark on my calendar. The second project I have for you today is this raw wooden crate. I did take it outside already and gave it a little bit of a sanding. There were some rough edges on it. I just thought the shape of it was cute. Normally you would see rectangle crates, but this one was square, so I thought it was cute. I'm going to be painting it with just some latex paint. This is a color, it's called Mushroom, and it's left over from when I painted my great room. I really like the color. It's very similar to Waverly chalk paint in mineral, I believe, but I'm just going to give this one coat because I have some other plans for it as well. I'm going to turn this crate into a vintage garden crate. I'm using these stencils that I picked up at a dollar store a couple of years ago, and I'm just going to cut the letters in half and then pop out the insides. I'm going to use the charcoal Rust-Oleum chalk paint color and the makeup sponge to apply the paint to the stencils. I'm going to put lettering on all four sides of this crate. This side will have the word herbs on it, and the other side is going to have seeds, and then I'm going to put something different on the slatted sides. I'm also going to add a couple of hand lettered words. On the top, I'm going to put organic and local on the bottom. And when I do my hand lettering, I always start in the center of the word. So A was the middle letter, and that's where I started, and then I work my way forwards and then backwards. That usually helps me to get the word more centered, but as you can see, I'm a little off today. I think it'll look okay once I've got everything complete. I'm always seeing some vintage crates with the labels kind of off kilter a little bit, so I'm not too worried about that. To make the crate look even more distressed, I'm just going to sand down the words a little bit, and then I'm going to use bare dark wax, and I like to apply the wax with a soft rag. I usually use an old t-shirt, and I'm just going to layer it a few different times just to make sure I get the color I want. The last thing I'm going to do is take that makeup sponge that I used to apply the stencils. I'm going to add a little bit of the charcoal chalk paint every once in a while, and I'm just rubbing that makeup sponge all the way across in a few spots just to give it more of a dirty and scuffed up look. On the opposite sides of the herbs and seeds words, I stenciled in the number 4, just using a few of the different sizes of stencils that I have in the same type of design. Please make sure you go check out Lianep's channel, DIY Beauty on Purpose, and tell her I sent you. If you are new to my channel and you like what you see, I would love for you to hit that red subscribe button and the bell to get notified when I upload new content. Like, comment, and share my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate your support. Have a great day.